Today I have a reading from, as many of you know, my favorite book of forever, Science of Mind 365. And I must tell you, I do not go here first. I go other places. I do my spiritual practice. I do research. I go online. I look for things that I think are going to tie in better to today's message. But guess what? This is perfect. I think. So I'll let you decide. And I'll read for July 7. Yeah, July 7th. That's where we are, isn't it? Still? All right. It's titled, I Am Rich with the Richness of God. How beautiful was the thought of Jesus when he told us to consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. And yet I say unto you that even Solomon, in all his glory, was not arrayed like one of these. Jesus was telling us to identify ourselves with the abundance of nature, the constant outpouring of the divine life of goodness in riches, in everything that makes for happiness and wholeness and success. God cannot fail. The divine will never fail us if we have implicit confidence in it. But we are so caught with fear and doubt and uncertainty that it becomes necessary for us to take time every day to reaffirm our union with the great outflowing givingness of life. This is the purpose of prayer and meditation. It is natural that we should wish for a more abundant life. It is right that we should accept it. God has already made the gift. It is up to us to receive it. Today I receive this goodness. Today, everything that I am and have is increased by it. I identify everything I do with success. I think affirmatively, and in all my prayers, I accept abundance. Whatever I need, whenever I need it, wherever I need it, for as long as I need it, it will always be at hand. I no longer see negation or delay or stagnation in my affairs, but rather claim the action of the living Spirit. It makes prosperous everything I do, increases every good I possess, and through me brings gladness and joy, happiness and access to and success to everyone I meet. Everything I think about will be animated by the divine presence, sustained by the infinite power, and multiplied by the divine goodness. So Julie, good morning. Beautiful meditation this morning. And when you were seeking the title for my talk this morning, I replied, it's a mystery. Because life is most times. But my title today, Mystery Solved, is The Magic of Being, with a capital B, through what? Vulnerability. Vulnerability. So, beloveds, welcome home. Welcome home to here. The divine says, welcome home as well. Because you're always at home, wherever you are. I'm asking you, do you feel that wherever you go? Do you feel always centered? Always supported? No. Be nice if it were, but then we wouldn't be what? Vulnerable. We'd be comfortable. We wouldn't get to grow. So the Center for Spiritual Living, Chico, is a community of love and wisdom. It's a community of welcome as well, where you are invited to receive the support that you seek and also that you deserve. Part of that is, for me, was deservability, and I'll get to that later. But so many times we spend a large portion of our energy seeking something, which means we don't have. If we affirm to ourselves, even if we can feel a little bit that we have something already, a little bit of love. Find a place where you were loved and feel that. Start there. And start with the mantra, I am deserving of more of that feeling of love. So it's not like airy-fairy out in the bushes somewhere. When I last spoke, I highlighted my presentation with several outtakes from the 1939 movie classic, The Wizard of Oz. Who was here and saw that? Yeah. So I concluded with Dorothy declaring, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. So today I continue from that idea of there's no place like home through our annual theme, Courage Over Comfort, and our book, Daring Greatly, by Brene Brown. And I love how in the title it says, not just daring greatly, but it's how the courage to be vulnerable, that courage to be vulnerable, transforms the way we live, love, parent, and lead. I've never had any children of my own. But I've had to parent myself from time to time. I hear my parents from time to time, keeping me on course. So my title, The Magic of Being Through Vulnerability, will encompass all of that, all those ideas. Many of you know my unending, sometimes annoying curiosity about life. I grew up with the whys, and the parents says, because I said so eventually. They got sick of me. You know, I was annoying. I was curious. I couldn't help it. So the pseudonym Wonder Man fits me, I think. For it's in this wonder about stuff which draws me to reference and research and provide not only the many definitions I do here, but also, hopefully, a few subtle yet revealing ahas. All right? So Wonder Man starts with the question, what does it mean to dare greatly? Getting out of the comfort zone, yes. And the other, come on, courage. Hanging in there. It's tough, yeah. Not worrying about what other people think. Those are big ones. Those are all mine. Well, here's what the author of Daring Greatly stated in her book, and this will set the stage for what comes next for me, and hopefully for you. So here's the quote. It's in the very beginning of the book, and I suggest that when you get the book, reread this. The phrase, daring greatly, is from Theodore Roosevelt's speech, Citizen in a Republic. The speech, sometimes referred to as the man in the arena, was delivered in the Sorbonne in Paris, France, on April 23rd, 1910. This is the passage that made the speech famous. He said this: "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the door of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again. Because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly." Whew. In the arena of life. I thought of a bullfighter. Just now, I thought, wow, there's an arena. It's life or death most times. So, the underlying aha is what? I think it is this. You have within each of us, that divine urge towards something greater, to realize, to demonstrate, to overcome. And you also have the courage to do it, believe it or not. But it takes us being vulnerable and being authentic to let that happen. That's where it's tough for us. We have to get into the arena of life. Now there are sayings when one door closes, another one opens. That's being in the arena. You're trying. Try again until you get it right. When you fall off a horse, a bicycle, you get back on and, gaddy up. But as a child, this came to me. I remember a challenge by my young friends. Well, I dare you. I double dog dare you. You ever heard that or done that to your best friends? Oh yeah. Quite the challenge, isn't it? And looking back, it was a moment for me of, now wait a second. It was good to be dared. Do I really want to do that? Is that who I am? And when I went against who I am, it wasn't pretty. It didn't feel good. There were repercussions. So, because it was a push and a challenge for me, many times I felt that I had failed. Because right then and there I started feeling I had to measure up to my friends. And I was little. I was, 7 or 8 years old. And why did I feel that? Because I felt vulnerable. I felt I had to stand there and be like them and, be rough and tough or whatever we were being, where we were going, however naughty we were being. I had to be part of it. I believe I had to be part of the group. But behind all of that, what I believed was I had to be perfect. A pressure to measure up. Perfect. I had to be perfect in someone else's eyes. To fit in to a way of being for me was an image I had drawn out of a lot of things I had taken in my own mind. And I created this image about what others expected. Did I measure up to this idealized picture of what they believed I should be like, look like, behave like? There's that. I had created a self of me in this sort of balloon, which, if pierced, would surely explode and expose my vulnerabilities. Well, the ahas behind that was that I had limited myself. I had thought less of myself and created a way of being to try to be perfect, people pleaser. Anyone else? No one. No one in this room. I mean, and that's not a bad thing. You know, we need to do certain steps to get through school. We have to please the teacher. We have to conform to certain laws and orders. And that's society. But inside, you know. So, by trying to be perfect, you might say I had, no offense, Ken, I had Kenned myself, as in Barbie and Ken. I had created this slick image of who I thought I should be. Now, I like looking like this. This is me. What do you call me? There you go, see? And I say yes to that. I understand all that, you know. I don't have to have as many GQ pieces as I used to. I just don't. But, well, let's see, along that line, let me see, I think I need to take this off. This is all, though, you know. Watch out. I'll be careful. See? Along the way, there's sometimes a little hiccup as we change. Start the music, staff. So, there we go. How's it look? Is it okay? Huh? Okay, thanks. So, you know, there's different things we think we have to always do to be in a certain place. For me, it's a sense of respect to who I am with, according to a position. But I do know in my day job of hairdressing that I've run up against other hairdressers and they'll say, wow, you must have gone home and changed it before you came to this event. I says, no, I always dress like this. Oh. Well, I think many times it's subjective to people, how you dress and how you look, to what you draw towards you. There's that little piece of it. But if we're conscious of that little piece of things of why we do, that makes a difference. So, Brene Brown, back in the book on page 128, has a name for what I was doing with all of this perfectionism. It's called the shield. The shield. The shield is perfectionism. Well, this is my part of the book because it addresses and clarifies many whys of my beliefs. And it raised other insights into behaviors regarding perfectionism. And I'll just share a few. There's questions. Is perfectionism an issue for you? Sometimes. Some places, some areas of our lives, I got to get that edge on that lawn just right, or the neighbors are going to, whatever. Right, James? He's really good about that. Some days it's straight, some days it has a little scallop to it. It's all good. It's all good. And if it is an issue for you, this perfectionism, what are your strategies for managing it? Strategies. That's an interesting perspective, isn't it? How do we manage our perfectionism? Well, for me, the underlying aha is that if I know that I'm managing, it softens the blame, shame, and guilt part of it for me. Oh, I'm just managing it. Okay. It's awareness, and I can change. So Brene Brown's data defines perfectionism thusly. Like vulnerability, perfectionism has accumulated around it a comfortable mythology. Say that again. Like vulnerability, perfectionism has accumulated around it a comfortable mythology. Mythology is defined as a symbolic narrative, usually known of unknown origin, or at least partly traditional. So we have this mythology around all of this that has built over time and experience, and it's kind of wrapped up as a nice gift, saying, here, try, this is you, try this, do this is perfect. It's hand-me-down. She goes on to share what perfectionism isn't. Perfectionism is not the same thing as striving for excellence, nor healthy achievement or growth. Perfectionism is a defensive move. It's the belief that if we do things perfectly and look perfect, we can minimize or avoid the pain of blame, judgment, and shame. This is heavy, isn't it? It'll get light at the end, I promise. But it's all good stuff. Perfectionism is not self-improvement. It's about trying to earn approval. Healthy striving is self-focused. Question, how can I improve? So, self-improvement is, to me, going within yourself, the spiritual self, and improving there. And the outside just shows up as what it already is. Perfectionism is not a way to avoid shame. It's not a way to avoid shame. Perfectionism is a form of shame. Yikes. Ooh, bad boy. Where was I supposed to be here, besides here? Oh, when I succeeded in being vulnerable, there was a definite rush, within me, and I didn't often allow myself to be vulnerable because it was just too scary. And it feels kind of magical when that happens, although it's always been there, and there's no magic to it. But there's that clarity from within. And so I've told part of this story, but my real life-changing moment of vulnerability was after my perfect life changed in 2013. My partner died at that time. And I took on the mantle of full leadership of a center. Well, I wasn't sure where I wanted to go. I was in this vulnerable place. And if it wasn't for the assistance of Spirit getting me into a ministerial conference for us ongoing questioning perfectionists, that's what I call it now, ministers, I wouldn't be here today like this. And because I felt uncertain, I felt abandoned, I felt mostly abandoned. But what I came to realize through that conference was I get to be me now. I get to be I. Not, but I didn't know any different. You see, there's that knowledge that comes along. I was made aware, yeah, you could just be Michael. And that's okay. In fact, it's the best. So I had several balloons burst that week. I got to really get down to the juicy part, as Reverend Kathy says, that real deep, tender places of self-improvement. And so I'm grateful to be here, now, in my authentic self. Now, I'm not done yet. I'm still being more authentic all the time, I hope. But you're free to call me out on it, okay? Benson, tell me the truth. Well, the number 2 myth about all this in her book, about daring greatly, is I don't do vulnerability. That's the myth. I don't do vulnerability. Because when we were children, we used to think that when we were grown up, we would no longer be vulnerable. Yeah? You're going to outgrow that. You're going to get tough. You're going to have this shell around you. But to grow up is to accept vulnerability. To be alive is to be vulnerable. We're taking a trip, my partner and I, James, to Greece this year. That's a vulnerable trip. Never cruised before, 2 new places. And people ask me, so what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. It'll be perfect, whatever it is. I'm not going to set myself up for anything other than enjoyment. My intention is for enjoyment. Because I've learned in the past that outlining too much sets me up for failure and disappointment. And I don't want that. Who wants that? I don't want that. Because what I know in this teaching is that Science of Mind tells us we are surrounded by an infinite possibility. It is goodness, life, law, and reason. There's no hocus pocus if we use the principles. Life begins in mind and through a process called spiritual mind treatment. It's a place to bear our soul to the universal. It's sweet, it's scary, and a vulnerable place. I suggest you visit. It is safe. It's a safe place and space for you to be. Allow yourself to be vulnerable, to trust the place of divine inspiration, of your pure being, which can feel so magical, can't it? Who's been there? Practitioners, you're there all the time, right? But it can also be scary. So Science of Mind defines being, our spiritual being, is that which exists actually or potentially. That which is already a possibility in the mind of God, therefore in our mind. So, there is but one source of being, God. And we are connected with it. When? At all times. At all times. And so, there's a video that's going to be shown now. And I'd like you to listen to the words with your spiritual ear and your heart. We've all heard it before. I don't think here, but maybe when I wasn't here. Especially the part about take my hand. All right? You ready?